For the past 5 years, the Thunder have been building something special. Sam Presti and company have made the Thunder a competitive organization almost every season since the move to Oklahoma City. With only 3 years of less than 40 wins since the move and multiple conference finals and one finals trip, the Thunder have been successful. After losing their big three of Harden, Westbrook, and KD, they needed to find a new star, and in 2019, they would do that, finding future superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, getting him from the Clippers after his rookie season, and building a fantastic roster around him throughout the past half-decade. We know that SGA has been playing like an MVP, but let's really dive into how good he's been, and how this Thunder team has become a contender because of it. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and if you guys don't already follow our Instagram, make sure to follow it. It will be linked below at the Next Man Up Sports on Instagram. Yesterday we announced our first partnership with SeatGeek. If you use code NEXTMANUP on your first purchase, you will get $20 off. This is massive, and thank you guys. You guys are the reason that we got this sponsorship. Without your guys' continued support, we wouldn't be able to do stuff like this, and we are proud to be able to announce our new partnership with SeatGeek. So make sure to use that code, and let's get back into the video. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was traded to the Thunder in the 2019 offseason in the Paul George trade. Looking back on it, the Thunder received SGA, picks who would later become Trey Mann and Jalen Williams, and more picks in the upcoming year's drafts. The Clippers only received Paul George. I don't see a way the Clippers won this trade, and we know how disappointing they've been since getting Kawhi and PG on the same team. It seemed like by now they would have at least won a championship, but the duo has only had one conference finals berth to show for it so far, and the amount of games that they've played has been very underwhelming. As we know, the past few years, everyone's been talking about it, the load management between the two. It has definitely not gone the way that they would have expected. Like I previously mentioned, one of those draft picks would be used on Jalen Williams, who has become the second leading scorer and finished second in Rookie of the Year voting last season. Another player drafted from that class would be Chet Holmgren, who we'll talk about a little bit later. Jalen Williams has blossomed into a great second option for the Thunder this season, putting up 19, 4, and 4, and has become a great defender, having the 26th best defensive win share in the league as of right now. On top of Williams, they also have the Clippers 2024 first rounder, Heat 2025 protected first rounder, the rights to a pick swap with the Clippers in 2025, and an unprotected pick from the Clippers in 2026. Based on this trajectory, the Thunder got a better deal having the pick right swap to the Clippers, as I think they'll probably be better than them going forward, especially with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard getting older, and this Thunder team being one of the youngest in the league and already being dominant right now. I think it's safe to say that the Thunder got the better end of the deal on this trade, whether you look at draft picks and you also include SGA as well. It's just overwhelming at this point, especially since the Clippers only got Paul George. Next up, let's talk about Chet Holmgren. Holmgren was drafted in the 2022 draft, but would end up having to sit out all of last season with an injury. There were some doubts on how he would perform this season coming off an injury, but he has been every bit of spectacular. I'll be the first to admit it. I didn't have very high hopes for Holmgren going into this season, or last season even when he was drafted. I wasn't sure how he would be able to perform in the NBA, being a smaller center going in the league up against bigger guys like Embiid and Jokic, but he has definitely surprised me. Throughout this season, Chet has been competing with Wemby for Rookie of the Year, and it seems like Wemby is starting to run away with the award, not because Chet has been playing bad, but Wemby is just on another level within the past few games. Chet is currently averaging nearly 17, 8, and 3, and has been elite defensively with the 5th best defensive rating in the whole league. He's been able to score and defend the paint quickly, becoming one of the best two-way bigs and filling the center hole pretty well that the Thunder ended up having after Steven Adams would leave the team a few years ago. I know they would have Mike Muscala, but Chet Holmgren has become the centerpiece of their center position there in Oklahoma City. So how did this Thunder team recover so quickly and rise to the top after the PG trade? The 2 years following the trade, they would go a combined 46 and 116, so a very rough 2 seasons. But this is where they developed the players they had, including Shai, and got to the point to draft players like Chet. These teams were very bad, but it was a great time for Shai and company to develop. Shai had put up nearly 11 points as a rookie, but once he got the green light for the Thunder, his averages would continue to improve. He would climb up to 19 points during this first season in OKC, and his field goal attempts would nearly double. He was less effective during his second season, seeing a drop in field goal and three-point percentage, but the team around him was so bad that the Thunder just wanted to see him develop and would let him do pretty much anything. The following season, he would climb up to 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists, and would get up to a 50% from the field and a career-high 42% from 3. His next season would be pretty similar, putting up 24, 5, and 6, but at this point he had become known as one of the league's most underrated young talents. We see players like this come around the league every few years, but sometimes we're hesitant to truly give them their props. Shai had been balling, but many at this time attributed it to being a good player on a bad team, leading to potentially some inflated stats. I can remember the Bradley Beal comps being thrown around, which isn't a bad thing, but despite Beal putting up great numbers, he was never in that elite category because he took so many shots on a bad team. It also didn't help SGA's case that his three-point shooting would go from 42% the season before all the way down to 30%, and his field goal percentage going from nearly 51% to 45%, but his points per game still would go up. The next season, though, last season, would be his breakout year and prove that he is one of the league's elite talents. Last season, Shai really did take that jump into the elite level that many expected him to get to, putting up 31.4 points per game, 5.5 assists, 4.8 total rebounds, 5th in MVP voting. He was an NBA first team, all-star, got 2nd in most improved voting. He got up to 51% from the field and nearly 35% from 3. He got to that elite level, and the Thunder got better because of it, going from 24 wins to 40 last season. And now, already at 42 wins as of this recording, and they're a half a game out of the first seed. They've been bouncing back and forth with the Timberwolves as of late, and the Nuggets also a half a game out of first place. The Thunder are a very interesting team this season, just like the Timberwolves, because both teams very young teams, and we're going to have to see how the Thunder perform when they get to the playoffs. As of this recording, they did just get beat by the Lakers for the 3rd time this season last night, getting beat by 12, but they were down by a lot more before that. If they go up against a team in the playoffs like the Lakers, a team with a lot of experience, it may be tough for them. So we're going to have to see how this team performs in the playoffs. But for now, before we get to the playoffs, if they can finish in with a top 3 seed or even the 1st seed, which is very achievable, then this team completely exceeded expectations. Many were expecting them to take a big jump this year. I was expecting them to be maybe a top 6, top 5 seed this year, but contending for the 1st seed, they have been absolutely fantastic and truly contending for a championship this season so far. The Thunder could potentially have 2 award players this season, with Rookie of the Year potentially going to Chet. Like I said before, I think Wemby will come away with the award. He has been on another level recently, but Chet should come in second. It's really between those 2 guys for the award right now. And in the MVP race, Shai is very close. There's a lot of people vouching for him to win the MVP as of right now. The odds have been getting closer every single day for the MVP between him and the favorite right now, Jokic. Ever since Embiid went down with an injury, it has been pretty close in my opinion. I don't think there's any way that we kind of see anyone besides Luka, Shai, or Jokic win. I think pretty much everyone else is kind of out of the contention realm right now. I don't see a guy like Giannis or Tatum getting to that point. I think it's really locked in between those 3, and I think you could even argue that maybe Luka is the odd guy out. It could just come down to Shai and Jokic. I think it really depends on who ends up with that number 1 seed. It could come down to whichever team wins the number 1 seed, honestly. If we're talking about the MVP, a lot of voters may say between the Nuggets and the Thunder, whichever team gets that number 1 seed, they may win MVP because both of those guys are having fantastic seasons up to this point. Jokic, obviously putting up those numbers that we see every single year to this point, putting up those triple-double numbers like we saw with a prime Russell Westbrook. So it seems like we're getting accustomed to it at this point, though he is still playing fantastic ball. And Shai, I I know a lot of voters do get that voter fatigue. We've known that the past few years with guys like Giannis and Jokic throughout the past few years, maybe not getting the MVP even though they deserved it in some people's opinions. But Shai could be the new blood this year, putting up 31 right now, over 2 steals a game, over 6.5 assists per game, over 5.5 rebounds. He would definitely deserve the award if he got it this year. Nearly 38% from 3, 55% from the field, and almost 90% from the free throw line. He has had a fantastic year, and so have the Thunder. Let me know down below, do you guys think the Thunder will be able to win the championship this season? Like I said, there's a lot of factors that are going to go into this, and there's a lot that could change between now and then. But if they go up against a team in the first round that has a lot of history in the playoffs, a team like the Warriors or the Lakers, do you think they'll be able to get over it? Do you think Shai is going to be able to take over in the playoffs? Will we be able to see this playoff Shai? I guess we'll just have to wait and see until then. But let me know down below who you guys think is going to win the finals as of right now. Do you think it's going to be the Thunder, or do you think they may crash out before then? I'll see you guys in the next one.